Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. This is Delaney, and for today's video we're going to be doing something a little bit new to my channel. I have gotten so many questions from my friends and family and random people on Instagram and YouTube about how to do certain things makeup wise, what products to buy, things like that, but questions that they were almost afraid to ask because they thought that it would be like a stupid question to ask, or something that most tutorials don't really talk about because it's almost too simple. Like, if you're just diving into makeup, what are the basic questions that need to be answered? So that kind of gave me the inspiration for this Makeup Made Easy series on my channel. So I'm going to be going through all the steps of makeup, and this is going to be the very first lesson, beginner friendly makeup in a nutshell. So if you're interested in seeing the basics of makeup and Makeup Made Easy, then keep on watching. Alright, so we're going to be going over Makeup 101, Makeup Made Easy, all the things that you might have been afraid to ask an influencer or a YouTuber or anyone, a makeup artist in general, because you thought that the question might be too easy, too simple, too like, if it's a stupid question. No such thing as a stupid question, but sometimes we all feel like that. I know I do, especially at work sometimes. But yeah, that's why we're gonna be going over all of this. So starting off with your skin type. So I am not a doctor, I am not a pro, okay? Let me just start by saying that. I am a gal who loves makeup. I am going through the Online Makeup Academy course, but I am not a professional yet. I do want to give a little bit of insight into skin types. So your skin type, you've probably heard the dry, combo, oily, or normal skin. Really, there's no normal skin. It's more dry, oily combo situation. I don't think I know anyone who doesn't have any of those issues. But so your dry skin is just as it sounds. Flaky skin, your skin feels like it is lacking moisture. It's common to have some dry patches maybe on the tip of your nose, the high points of your face. You feel like you need to constantly apply moisturizer at night to keep your skin from drying out through the night, things like that. So just like you would put moisturizer on your arms and legs, you might have dry skin on your arms and legs. It's not just for your face and for makeup purposes, but your skin can have different types. Oily is you wake up, you maybe cleanse your face, and you are oily but a few hours later. Like, you can pat your head and feel the oil coming out of your pores. Now, generally, oily skin usually has larger pore size as well, but that's not always the case. You can also be more acne prone with oily skin, or you can also have dry skin and have acne. There's just so many different combos, including combination skin, where you have oily and dry skin all at the same time, which sometimes is me. Most often I am dry skinned, but I also have acne prone skin. So that acne can get dry and flaky, or it can be oily. It's just, what is it feeling today? Skin is just very complex, but most of the time in the makeup world, we're gonna be talking about dry, oily, and combination skin. And most of the time when you look at Sephora or Ulta at the descriptions of primers and foundations and concealers, anything for the skin, it's mostly going to say good for dry, oily, combo skin, or one of those options. Those are the skin types. Now, the different types of makeup that you can do, that's another thing that I wanted to go over, because sometimes products lend themselves more to natural makeup, and sometimes they lend themselves more to glam makeup. You can have any of the skin types I just listed and do either type of makeup. All the makeup types are for everyone, but different products are for different skin types, and you can have different products that lend themselves more to the natural makeup or the glam makeup. Now, natural is more of like that clean girl aesthetic, that wake up, you look like you but better. So like minimal products sometimes, okay? It can also mean that you want to look like you're not wearing any makeup. You're wearing a lot of products, but you look like you're not wearing anything. Or you could just be wearing a lip balm and mascara, and that's it. That's also natural glam. Now, your full glam is the whole 9 yards. Primer, foundation, concealer, powder, contour, bronzer, blush, highlight. You name it. All of that is glam. And that is when you can visibly see the makeup, you know it's there, you're intentionally showing that you're wearing makeup. The glitter on the eyes, the eyeliner, the wing, you know, things like that. So when you're talking about glam, that's where we're more leaning towards. And then if you're talking about natural, it's the clean girl, barely there kind of aesthetic. Another term that you're going to hear thrown around with foundations and skin products or the finish of a product, and that means your radiant or your matte or your soft matte, things like that. So different products have different finishes depending on what you want them to look like. So your radiant is just what it sounds like. It's glowy. It looks like you're beaming, like something like this where you see that glow when I turn my head. That would be more radiant. If you want something matte, that means it does not have any glow. It's more of like a flat look, no shine. And if you want a soft matte or like natural, sometimes you'll hear it called natural, that is somewhere in between. So not completely matte, but also not like super glowy either. Those things are important when it comes to concealer and foundation and different powders and things like that that deal with the complexion, because each product finish is going to give you something different. Different skin types are going to want different finishes, or just people with different makeup preferences are going to want different finishes. That's why all of these different products exist. So hopefully I'm not going too fast here. If you do end up wanting any like in-depth video or you have any other questions that I didn't get to in this video about these topics, leave a comment below. I will respond to things there. I'm just trying to go through quickly and do like the bare minimum, what you need to know about makeup, maybe in order to buy a new product or to step up your makeup game. So we're just going to keep on trucking, but leave comments if you have additional questions. There's also different formulas for different products. So there is cream, powder, liquid, balms, just to name a few. Every day they're innovating and coming up with more like hybrid kind of formulas for makeup, and that goes for foundation, blush, highlight, contour, everything. Gel is another formula. Sorry, I forgot about that one. That's a new popular one. There's so many different formulas nowadays, and each of them have benefits and each of them have cons. So you kind of have to see which one works for your skin type, preferences, things like that. So with the gels and the cream products, those are usually more long wearing. They are usually more tacky. They don't always set down into a powder finish, so they might be a little tacky if you touch them, but they have more of a glow. Usually they're more moisturizing. More of your matte products would be your powders. Some silicone based things can kind of get a powdery finish, and that is more of your like long wear, transfer resistant, sweat resistant kind of products. Your powders are good for like locking in those cream products to make them last longer. They have more of a like soft matte finish to them. You can have glowy powders as well, but that's more of like your highlighters and your glowy blush and your radiant bronzers. They'll kind of say that in the name usually. And you're talking about like a powder product, usually that ends up leaning more on the matte side. Nowadays there are all these hybrid products, so you have your blush lighters and things like that that are glowy powders. It gets confusing, but once you get the hang of the terminology, it's a little bit easier. And I'm sorry if this is a lot. I'm just trying to go through this as best as I can. Again, if you have any questions, just let me know. So another part of makeup terminology involves shade matching. So you can be tan, light, medium, deep. Those are shades, but they're also like your complexion, right? So I am fair. That would usually be my complexion. And then I have an undertone for my skin, and I lean more on the neutral, cool side. So like I can kind of do both depending on the product and the formulation, but I have a neutral undertone most of the time, at least in my eyes. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like I'm more neutral. Everyone says on TikTok, like if you can mix metals, if you got the silver jewelry and the gold jewelry and you look both great in both, then you're neutral. If you like the warm toned and it looks best on your skin, usually you're warm toned. And then if you have the silver jewelry and it looks best on you, that's more cool tone. But really, you're looking at the undertone in your skin. Do you have a yellow kind of undertone? Do you have a pink kind of undertone? Your pink is more cool. Your yellow is more warm, like your golden undertone. And then in between there would be your neutral. So I'm not going to go into depth into the color wheel today, but that is just a brief description so that hopefully you can kind of understand more when people are talking about that kind of thing. And if you're browsing on Ulta and Sephora, you're going to see fair warm or fair cool, and you're going to see all these different things for all your shades. So like fair, light, medium, deep, across the board, they're also going to have undertones associated. So just be aware when you're looking at foundations to recognize your undertone. And if you'd like to learn more about that, I know there are plenty of YouTube videos about how to find your shade and your undertone and things like that. I am not a professional in that way, so I don't think I can properly help you and explain it in this video, but that's a little brief description. So when you're looking for your concealers, your foundations, any complexion product, think of your undertone, and usually you can find something that will match you pretty well. Also with blushes and contours and bronzers and things like that, your undertone does come into play, so it's important to know. Like your peaches and things like that are going to look more natural on someone with a warmer complexion than they are on someone with a cooler complexion, because the peach is a warm tone color. It's going to complement the warm undertone more than the cool. It'll still probably look okay on a cool toned person, but it may not pop as well and like look as flattering on their skin tone. Of course, people like what they like. I am a cool tone neutral gal and I still like peach sometimes, so like, okay. But yeah, it just kind of helps you find the right direction to go into sometimes. All right, the next thing is coverage. If you hear people talk about coverage, that means how much pigment is in a product. So like how much coverage would like a pimple get? So if you had a pimple, would you be able to fully cover it or partially cover it with the pigment that's in the product? So like full coverage is good for your spot concealing, your full glam makeup. Light coverage is great for just like a wash of color, your skin tints, your very light sheer coverage products, a light coverage concealer, just to look like you're barely wearing anything on your face. Your medium is a happy medium in between. So depending on what look you're going for, you'll have a different coverage or a different coverage in mind. So you'll see that all over Sephora and Ulta in the descriptions. It'll usually tell you if it's a complexion product, what kind of coverage it is. Once you figure out what kind of coverage you like, you can also sort by coverage, I believe, and that's a really helpful tool when looking for different products. So I personally usually go for a medium coverage concealer because I like something that looks still natural, but with a little bit of coverage, because I do have a little bit of darkness under my eyes. I'm wearing concealer now, and I have acne, so I need a full coverage spot concealer. And I'll go into the differences of like formulas for that kind of thing in a later video, but those are my preferences. I will do a full coverage concealer for like events, a wedding or something like that. But normally on an everyday basis, I'm using something more on the medium side. Today is like almost leaning more full coverage accidentally, but I didn't intend that. Okay. Next up, we have application tools. This is not just for foundation. This is for eyeshadow, for blush, for bronzer, for everything. So for foundation alone, you can probably tell that a lot of people have used sponges. Like that is the trendy application tool, but also you do not have to use a sponge. Just remember to wet the sponge if you're going to do that, okay? But wring it out, make sure there's no excess water. That's another thing. But the sponge is great for like leaving no streaks behind and pressing things into the skin. You also have a brush. This is a foundation brush with a concealer brush on the other side. This is an amazing brush that I use every single day. This is from It Cosmetics. If you're interested in the brush, I think it is number 7. Heavenly Luxe Complexion Perfection. What a name. But yeah, so you have your foundation brush on one side and you see how it is a little bit domed at the top, a little bit fluffy, but not too open, because more fluffy means like more sparse coverage, more dense usually means like more targeted, more pigmentation. And Same goes with the concealer. So you can see how it is a little bit fluffy, and that does help kind of spread around the product and blend it, but you don't want it to be too fluffy because you still want to be able to target and have some precision. Yeah, so there is the brush and the sponge, and that goes with all your other products too. So let's say you have a fluffy brush like this. This one I use for powder all over the face, usually a finishing powder. Because it's so light, it will evenly disperse product in a very light veil, and it doesn't usually like leave any lines or anything like that. A nice fluffy brush is usually great for those radiant powders. Sometimes matte if you really just want like a very light veil of something. The more sparse it is, the less product you're going to be dispersing onto the skin. Now, let's compare that to something like this. This is a highlighter brush, and it is pretty packed. Like, it has a little point at the end. It's going to be more targeted, and it's a little bit more dense. It is going to be packing powder on the face. I can use it as a setting like my under eyes kind of brush, or sometimes a more like targeted highlighting brush. So the more sparse your bristles, the less product, and the more you're gonna be like fanning it out. The more pushed together the bristles are, the more pigment you're going to be getting. The more bang for your buck, if you will. Like if you're gonna add a lot of product, you want a more targeted look than do bristles that are more close and densely packed. So I hope that helps a little bit. There are so many things I could talk about with brushes, like the angles and the shapes and things like that. But those are all things that you kind of learn what shape you like as you go. There are your like powder brushes that are more fluffy like this. This one I use for bronzer, but if I wanted to do, let's say, a contour that is a little bit more targeted, something like this angled brush would be really good to just put exactly in the place that I want to and not get it everywhere. So same goes with eye brushes. The more fluffy the brush and the bigger the brush, it's going to kind of fan out the product and make it more diffused. If you have a tightly packed dense brush, it's going to pack more pigment on. So same concept across the board with all the brushes. And then the sponge comes in and you're like, it gives one thing, and that's bounce. No lines though, and it usually is for more like trying to get that airbrush look. And you also have a little powder puff, which is great for powder. If you don't want to use like a sponge to apply it, you don't want to get your sponge all dirty, the powder puff works amazingly. This is actually the Tati Beauty thing. RIP to that. It's a really good product, not gonna lie. Brief description of the makeup products in order. Usually you start with your primer or skin prep. That can be one and the same. You can have a bunch of different primers, but I'm gonna be doing more in-depth videos on each of these categories, so I'm only gonna be talking about them very briefly right now. But we're gonna start with step 1, primer, skin prep. Step 2, foundation. And then also, you can go out of order if you want. It's makeup, not that serious. But this is what I do. So step 2, foundation. I put my foundation on and make sure that the coverage is what I want. Then I go in with concealer, and usually under my eyes, in the T-zone, a little bit wherever I want to bring brightness to the face. And then step 3 for me is spot concealing, so kind of the same, but I have acne prone skin, so I need that as an extra step. So after spot concealing, I usually go in with powder to set my under eyes and a little bit in the T-zone. So you can also bake. I'm not a huge baker. I'm more of just like a light veil of powder underneath my eyes just because I have dry skin. So those are kind of things that your skin type is important for, because different techniques are good for different skin types. So after powder, this kind of can go a little bit out of order depending on what I'm feeling, but usually I bronze the skin because I need some life back into my skin after the powder. So I sometimes will do contour if I'm feeling fancy, but usually just a bronzer. Then I do my blush to bring some life back into the cheeks. Then I do highlighter to add some glow. Some products can do it all in one, but for the sake of right now in the steps, bronzer, blush, highlighter. And then I do my eyebrows. I know you could do your eyebrows at any point, but mine are really simple, so I just do them right before I do my eyeshadow. It's that easy. And then eyeshadow, of course, I love that step. I can either do something more natural or glam, doesn't matter. But after the eyeshadow, then comes my mascara. And after that, my setting spray. And then I usually do my lip products. So lip gloss, lip liner, lipstick, anything that I'm feeling for that day. And sometimes I'll finish with a finishing powder before I put the setting spray. It just kind of depends on what I'm feeling. Finishing powder is definitely an optional step, but I like it because it adds a little bit more of a like ambient airbrush kind of a look to it. But yeah, so those are the steps that you go in for your makeup. Of course, you can go out of order. What we're gonna end in this video on is what is the bare minimum in your makeup bag that you need. So I'm not gonna go into drugstore versus luxury, things like that, but I am gonna go through and say, like, if you want a natural makeup or if you want glam, what is the minimum amount of products that you need in your makeup bag, at least in my opinion, okay? So if you're gonna go shopping and you're saying, I don't know anything about makeup, what do I start with? Like, what do I buy? This is what I would recommend. So for step one, you have your skin prep and your primer. So that could be all in one. For me, I usually do that all in one. First, I'll usually go in with a moisturizer because I have dry skin. And then I always wear SPF during the day. So I'll either wear the Fenty Skin one or the e.l.f. Whoa Glow. Both of these are beautiful and glowy. The Whoa Glow does have a little bit more of a glow to it. And the Fenty is just like everyday great product. And then this moisturizer does not leave any sort of glow, but this is the all-in-one Snail Mucin Snail Rescue from Peach Slices. I love this. I've been using it for a week or two and I've seen a big difference with my skin. I can't say 100% that it's like a cure-all because I still have acne, but I do notice a difference in my pores and my skin, so I will leave it at that. Just a mini review while we're going through, but bare minimum, moisturizer or SPF or both. You do need SPF, protect your skin, please. That is the one thing that you can do now to help your skin later. So just remember that. Step two for me, foundation. I would say find a foundation that is the coverage you like, probably a medium coverage because then you can build the coverage for glam. You can take away coverage for light. That's what I usually opt for. This is the NARS Light Reflecting Skincare Foundation. I love this. I've repurchased it so many times. I love that you can kind of control the coverage, but it also has that radiant finish that I really, really like. It does say more of a natural finish, but it seems pretty glowy to me, but that's just my opinion. All right, so foundation, find the foundation you love, and then find a concealer that you love. If you want a full coverage option, the Hourglass Vanish Skin Concealer is really great. Medium coverage, I have the Neutrogena. Things like that. Find your coverage option and go with it. For me, my third step, my concealer, my pot concealer for spot concealing. This is the Soft Matte Concealer from NARS. It does amazingly for covering acne. If you are an acne-prone girly, okay? If you are an acne-prone person, this is the perfect product for you. It has full pigmentation to it, so you can cover up anything. And it has like a slightly tacky feel to it so that when you put things on top of it, it will set down and it will set down matte. It looks very natural on the skin. I'm wearing it right now to cover these spots. I think it looks really good. Did you notice? Did you notice the spots? I don't know. Okay, so after spot concealing, I do powder. So you can either do loose powder or pressed, doesn't matter, but I use the powder to set my under eyes. And it is an important step if you also want to set down your foundation and keep your skin from getting oily. So just keep that in mind. If you want it to be, if you're more dry skinned, don't use too much powder, but if you're oily skinned, you might need a little bit more powder to stop the oils from coming through throughout the day. Or to make your makeup like more matte, you can also add powder to do that as well. All right, next up we have bronzer. My favorite bronzer, the L'Oreal Bronze It. Absolutely love. It does a great job of bronzing up the skin, but also has the perfect shade for me that I can use it to kind of do contour and bronze all in one, and it's a little bit radiant, so it gives me a nice healthy glow. There are matte versions of bronzers as well, so if you don't like the glow, you don't have to. Next up, we have blush. The one I'm wearing today is from Found Beauty, and it is like a radiant baked blush. So it's kind of a blush and highlighter situation all in one. You can either do a glowy blush and eliminate highlighter if you want to do that, or you could do the blush and also a highlighter. This one's beautiful. This is from Charlotte Tilbury. There's drugstore options as well if you don't want to go for the more luxury option, but this one is beautiful. So yeah, after you have your glow, I do my eyebrows. Actually use eyeshadow if you're in a pinch. If you have a color that matches your hair color or just a shade darker, you can use an angled brush and actually use eyeshadow in your eyebrows. But for me, the NYX Micro Brow Pencil is all I need. Different eyebrow products have different thicknesses. Usually I just run the spoolie through it after, get the product worked in, really easy. Let's see. So after eyebrows, I do eyeshadow. You can completely eliminate eyeshadow if you want. I don't recommend it because I love eyeshadow, but you can get a eyeshadow palette, something that has a bunch of different eyeshadows in it. Or if you are a natural girly and you just don't want to spend money on eyeshadow, you can actually use your bronzer, and you can put your eyeshadow brush in here and diffuse it out. That's actually what I did today. I only have one eyeshadow on, and it is the topper shade, but I have the bronzer in my crease right now, and it looks absolutely beautiful. Makes the look nice and cohesive too. I also put a little bit of blush on my lid to kind of give a little bit of a pink undertone, just because I like the way that looks with the blush. The single shade that I am wearing today is called Ladybird and is from ColourPop. The Super Shock shadows are easy girl, like easy makeup girly friendly, okay? This is a one swipe on the lid, done. And it is gorgeous and shiny and pretty and glittery. And they have a million colors. If you want to go colorful, you want to go neutral, they got you. All right, so after eyeshadow, mascara. This one I am using today is the Telescopic Lift from L'Oreal Paris, and I know there was a whole mascara gate thing on that, but I must say I actually really enjoy this mascara regardless of whatever happened with it. I really like the formula, but that one from the drugstore and my favorite one from Sephora is the Rare Beauty. Really gorgeous. Sometimes I layer both of them and they look great. Mascara will be its own video, but yeah, those are the ones that I like and can recommend in this video today. You can do finishing powder if you want. I have the Laura Mercier Highlight 01 Matte Radiance Baked Powder. I use that with a fluffy brush all over my face and just kind of set everything and blend all the things together, and it gives it a nice airbrushed look. Then I do some setting spray, and then I do my lips. So I don't have enough time in this video to talk about every single lip product available, but lip liner and a lip gloss, the bare minimum. You can actually use lip liner on your whole lips, or you could just use it on the outside for a very natural look, and then put the lip gloss right on top, and that's what I did today. And I think it looks really, really beautiful. If you want lipstick for more coverage, go for that. They also have lip stains, lip balms, you know, there's a bunch of different options. That's like the minimum. Having all of the makeup products that I mentioned in your makeup bag is like, if I want to be able to choose between having light makeup and glam makeup, you have it all right there. Now, if you're on the light makeup side, you don't have to have every single one of those products. You could literally just get away with a concealer, a bronzer, a blush, maybe. You could even do the bronzer, which is like, let's see. I have one right here. You can even do a bronzer type situation that has the blush and bronzer all in one. And you can do a blush lighter, and that's a highlighter and a blush all in one. If you want to limit the products, you can. For the lighter makeup days, you can literally just have a glowy blush and concealer and a little bit of mascara and call it a day. You can have that, or you can have the full glam. But having all the products that I just mentioned means that you have enough in your makeup bag to do any of those looks. And the tools definitely come into play. Your brushes are things that you're going to be needing to apply your makeup. You technically can use your fingers, but definitely easier with a brush. There are affordable options, there are luxury options, anywhere in between. As for makeup sponges, I would always recommend going on the more affordable side because they are disposable after a certain amount of time. You don't want to use the same sponge over and over and over again because you're wetting it every day and it could get moldy. So just remember that. But your brushes, you can clean, they last longer, so you could kind of invest more on those if you would like. But yeah, that is kind of the rundown of what should you put in your makeup bag, what do you need in your makeup bag in order to get a natural or a glam look. Just kind of the bare minimum. One of each of those products is the bare minimum. Now, granted, if you're like me, you have a bunch more products. I have drawers of makeup, but that's also because I am a makeup lover. I love to teach about makeup. I love to talk about makeup. I love to play with makeup. I love to review makeup, and I love to film with makeup. So clearly I'm going to have a lot more than the average bear, but I love it. So I'm hoping that this was a little bit interesting and a little bit helpful for y'all. I don't know if this is all information that is like, duh, I don't know. Like, yeah, I know that. That's really simple. But from the questions that I was receiving from my friends and my family and coworkers and things like that, it seemed like people wanted the bare minimum and they wanted to know the terminology and what works for what and things like that. And so that's kind of what this series is intended for. So I'm hoping this isn't too simple, but as we go through the makeup products in depth, I think it'll be even more helpful if you're like, I want to pick a blush and I don't know what kind to get. Do I get cream? Do I get powder? Where do I put it on my face? Will it mesh well with my other products? Things like that. But for each category and things like that, I don't think a lot of people that I watch at least talk about. They might briefly say something while they're applying, but I just want to make sure that everybody has the knowledge to find products that work for them and at any price range. There are great drugstore products and there are great luxury products, and depending on what you're looking for out of makeup, I think you can find something. Makeup is a saturated industry. There's a lot in the makeup world. So hopefully this was helpful. And I hope you enjoyed seeing how this look was made while I was talking a lot. But if you like this video, please let me know down in the comments. If you have any suggestions for things that you'd like me to talk about, yeah, let me know. But thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you're having an amazing day or night wherever you are. It is dark here. You can see by my donut. But yeah, that's all I got. That's all I got for today's video, but I hope you enjoyed this new series. I will be filming more, also with my declutter series and my online makeup academy series, so be on the lookout for those, and I will see you in the next video. Bye guys!